Dumba Jumden de Jen Java da Jumba Yandawa Zove Sanje Rigwa da Shabzo Demba Devara Jeva Jigden Jemba Jibun Dube Kalu Jurwa Lana Meva Lada Menamje Dumba Sanje Jumden de Bejawa Shaja Tuba La Chaze Lo Chodo Jaso Je ho dumba jumden de jen shewa ta jumba yanda ba zobe sanje rigwa da shabsu temba Devara jeva jigden kemba jevon deve kalu gyurwa lana meba lada menamje dumba sanje jumden de Bejawa jaja duba la jaze lo chodo jasu che ho dumba chumden de dejen shewa cha jumba yanda ba zobe sanje rigwa da jabzo demba devara sheba jigden kemba jebu ndube kalu gyurba lana meba lada menamje Dumba sanje jumden de benjawa jaja duba la jaze lo chodo jabzo che ho sanje chodan soje chonama la chanju pado tane jabzo che Tagi chushen gibe sonama je dola penje sanje drubara sho sanje chodan soje chonama la Janju bado tani jabso che Tagi chushen gibe sonama je dola penje sanje drubara sho sanje chodan soje chonama la Janju Bado Dane Gyalse Che Dage Shushe Gibe Sonamanje Dola Penje Sanje and Drobara Shos. Good morning, everybody. And how are you all doing? I hope you are well and safe. So today we begin on to a new journey, embarking on a new text, which I'm sure many of you have received the teachings on this and therefore very familiar with the text. So for those who have already received the teachings and are familiar with this text, so this is going to be a kind of a revision or to refresh your memory, because we all are very good at forgetting the important things, the good stuff. We can remember the tiniest details of trivial and unimportant things, but when it comes to Dharma things, we had a problem. So I hope this can serve as a revision to those who have already received the teachings. So this text is a type of text that you can teach for 10 days, or you can teach in one session. Because this is like the whole Bodhisattvas practice. And you can see that each topics are really a huge topic. And this encapsulates, this incorporates all the Lamrim topic points. So it can be taught for many sessions, for many days actually. Just one stanza can be taught for hours. And since we already have covered the Lamrim main topics, so we don't need to go into much detail. So we will try to really touch on the surface, and maybe some important points I will try to go a bit deeper, and then see how we progress. So are we ready? So as you see, this topic, the 37 practices of Bodhisattvas. So this is a comprehensive practices a Bodhisattva should adhere to. And this is the practice that all the Buddhas of the 3 times have incorporated. Or let me put it this way, it's called the lamsang. It's like the best path that all the 3 Buddhas have embarked on, have traveled on. So without this, those whom we refer to as past Buddhas, they wouldn't have become Buddha. And then the present Buddha who are on the path, who are now becoming a Buddha, they also rely on this path, these practices, these set of practices. And the future Buddha, those who are going to achieve enlightenment in the future, must rely on these sets of practices. Ignoring or neglecting these sets of the practices, there is no other path, there is no other way. And also the main practice, the core practice of Bodhisattvas. And then whoever engages in these practices, it becomes the source of all joy and happiness. Because this is about the practice of bodhicitta. These practices are part and parcel to get rid of our self-cherishing attitude, which is the main cause of our suffering. So for that reason, if anybody who engages in these sets of practices will achieve all the happiness that he or she seeks. And then, of course, through this practice, we will be able to abandon the samsara. We will be able to secure a good rebirth, which is conducive to our practices to progress in the spiritual path. And it will prevent us from falling into the abyss of the three lower realms. And these are the practices that eventually provides us the lasting happiness, the nirvana and Buddhahood. So this is such a comprehensive and such a core practice for Mahayana practitioners, especially for those of us who have taken the Bodhisattva vows. If we rely or if we practice these sets of practices as a core practice in our life, then we are practicing the Bodhisattva paths. We don't need additional paths. We don't really need to pursue chase after highest yoga kind of practices, tantra practices. But without this, even we receive highest yoga, tantra empowerments, we will get nowhere. So this is that kind of important. And we are very fortunate to have great practitioners who have come up with these sets of prayers, in this case, like the 37 sets of practices. Sorry, I keep saying prayer as practices. We are fortunate that great beings have come up with these sets of prayers, sets of practices, that we don't need to search all over the sutras and the commentaries. It is precisely explained what we need to do if we want to pursue the path of Bodhisattva. If we want to obtain enlightenment, then we need to practice this. So it's very clearly stated. So this text was composed by Gyalse Tokme Zangpo. Tokme Zangpo is the name, Gyalse is the honorific term or the title. Gyalse literally means the prince, the son of Buddha. So one meaning is the prince, Gyalse, son of the king. But here, Gyalse, that means the son of Buddhas, meaning Bodhisattvas. So there was no dispute that Tokme Zangpo was a Bodhisattva. All the scholars and the practitioners at that time have unanimously agreed or consented that Tokme Zangpo is a real Bodhisattva. So the biography, just a short biography. So Tokme Zangpo, at a very young age, his parents passed away and he was raised by his grandmother. And at the age of 14, he joined a monastery, and there, after receiving his novice ordination, he was given the name Zangpo Pel. And later, after receiving the teachings on the Abhidharma, Tokme Zangpo became so eloquent, so scholarly in the field, that when others asked him any questions, he was able to provide answers without hesitation, without much pondering and thought. So that's why everybody started to call him Tokme. So Tokme literally means unobstructed. So he is so eloquent, so fast in answering, in giving the answers. So he was called unobstructed, or the Tokme. So his actual name is Zangpo Pel. So joining these two, so Tokme Zangpo, and then later added that title, Gyalse Tokme Zangpo. When His Holiness teach this text, His Holiness always tells this story that Pudun Tamje Khenpa, the omniscient Pudun, is another great scholar of Tibet, and who himself is already a high realized being. But when he was unwell, he used to invite Gyalse Tokme Zangpo and to tell that you do a whatever blow or a prayer because you are a Bodhisattva. Because of that, you have the power to heal me. So it has become that common that Tokme Zangpo is a real Bodhisattva. And one of the main disciples of Tokme Zangpo is Rendava, another great scholar of Tibet, who was the main guru or teacher of Lama Tsongkhapa. So you can imagine what a great being Tokme Zangpo had been. So with that, let's dive right into the actual text. So the text begins with a homage. So you notice that in Tibetan tradition, whenever a scholar composes any commentary or any text, it is always begins with the homage, making homage. One reason is to receive the blessings and then be successful in the composition. Another is to show the humility what you are writing is actually you are transferring your own realization into words. So what you are putting into words of your attainment is not just because you are so great, it is because of the kindness of your guru. So it often makes homage to one's guru. In here, there are two ways to interpret. One is you can take this stanza as a homage made to one person, which is Tokme Zangpo's own guru, who, or the Chenresi, who is inseparable of one's guru, or the Chenresi inseparable. I think both ways is okay. That's one way to look interpret. Another way is take the two separate, making homage to both one's guru and to Chenresi. So the text reads, Namo Lokeshwaraye, so homage to Lokeshwara. So Lokeshwara is another name or manifestation of our Lokiteshvara. So homage to Lokiteshvara. Kangi chugun dong me sikyang, dowe la chikdu zun zebe, lama chodan, jenre sigun la, taudu kusum kube chacelo. I pay constant homage through my three doors to my supreme teacher and protector Chenresi, who, while seeking all phenomena, like coming and going, makes single-minded efforts for the good of living beings. So here the homage, I think it's easier to take the object of homage as one's guru as well as Chenresi. So in Buddhism, we see that the homage is most of the time made to one's guru, one's teacher. So that is one of the main emphasis put in the Buddha Dharma. Because whatever realization, whatever small attainments we have obtained is actually through the kindness of one's teacher. So it's like the, what do you call that? If you want to use the sun light to burn a piece of paper, you need to go through, the light need to go through a magnifying glass. Without that, you won't be able to burn that piece of paper. Just simply leaving the piece of paper in the sunlight, it won't. You need something else. So likewise here, in order to really receive all these blessings of Buddha, we need to go through another person, which is one's own guru. Remember, we discussed about in the last class when we were going through the verses in the chapter 4 of Bodhicharyavatara. There's one line that says that Simjin namla pen zebe. The many Buddhas have appeared, has come and gone, but we are still here. They couldn't help us. And at this time, there is no Buddha on this earth. The Buddha has come and gone. So who is the one that passes the Buddha's message or the instructions? it is through one's own guru, isn't it? In Lama Chopa text, we also say this one. Sanje Tokme chunbe matube marunduge nigdu drawala teje lamsa shishin tumba kyamgun tuji chana soadep. To those untamed by countless Buddhas, which are us, many Buddhas have passed, but we couldn't be tamed. So we still remain in samsara. The unruly transmigratory beings of this degenerate age who are difficult to subdue, you accurately show the good way of those gone to bliss. And then there's another prayer which says, Yunden Sanje Kunda Nyamnayang. Kurtin Sanje, what is that? Kurtin Sanje Kunle, Lakwarche or something. So basically saying that in terms of quality, in terms of knowledge and all the qualities, one's guru is equal to Buddhas. They possess the same qualities. But when it comes to the kindness, one's guru is far supersedes the Buddha's kindness, because Buddha couldn't. At the moment, who is really helping us is one's guru. So that's why in Tibetan Buddhism, there's so much emphasis on one's guru. But of course, not everybody is qualified to be a guru or teacher. And remember, I've already explained my view, my stand. There are two schools of thought. One is a very stricter one, not that liberal, very conservative, that as long as you have received a teaching, even just one stanza, you have to take that as your guru. So that's very conservative. But nowadays, it has become much more liberal. You have the choice. You can listen to talks without taking the other person as your teacher. It's like attending a lecture in a university. So like us, what we are doing, I'm just giving a lecture. You are just listening to my talk. You don't have to take me as your guru, because this is so important. Before you, first let me say this. It is so important to really find a guru. But you need to invest time to investigate whether that person is qualified to be your teacher. Once you find a qualified teacher, then you need to take that person as your teacher. Once you have taken that as your guru, then there are certain precepts, certain instruction, certain rules that you have to follow. So it is very, very important to be very careful before you say that, oh, I want to take you as your teacher, take you as my teacher, my guru. So what I'm trying to say is the reason why in all these teachings, all these texts, the homage is made to one's guru is like the guru is the foundation, foundation of all good qualities. All the good things comes through one's guru. So that's why we make homage. So here it says, I pay constant homage through my three doors. Body through body, showing respect, avoiding disrespect, and then also, of course, it involves serving your guru, whatever the guru needs, and then through speech, making prayers, and then from mind is mainly generating that faith and devotion. To my Supreme Teacher and Protector Chenrezig. Why Chenrezig is the object of homage here is that Chenrezig is believed to be the manifestations of Buddha's compassion. Here we are talking about the Bodhisattva's practice, so it is relevant to make homage to a person or a manifestation or one who embodies Buddha's compassion, all Buddha's compassion. And the reason for the praise or for the homage is that these two possess unique qualities. So what are those? Then it says, who while seeing all phenomena lack coming and going. This is to show that these objects possess the Buddha's quality, the enlightened quality. So while seeing all phenomena lack coming and going, this of course we're talking about emptiness. We are talking about inherent, there's no inherent coming and going. There is conventionally, there is coming and going, there is cessation, there is origination. But in the eyes of a person who is in that meditative state, a person who sees emptiness, who perceives emptiness directly, in the eyes of that person, what we call the meditative equipoise, nothing appears, nothing exists except emptiness. So for ordinary, those who are not enlightened, those who are not Buddha yet, what happens is, when they are in meditative state, nothing appears, only emptiness. In order to perceive the conventional world, they need to come out of that meditative state. We call it nyamsha. But for Buddhas, those who have already achieved Buddhahood, it's simultaneous. They are perceiving emptiness all the time, but also they perceive what you call the conventional things. So that's what the meaning. To show the quality, the unique quality of Buddhas. So here, of course, you are seeing your guru as a Buddha. So you are seeing that quality in your guru, in your teacher, who while seeing all phenomena lack coming and going, makes single-minded effort for the good of living beings. If there is nothing except emptiness, if there is no coming and going, that means there is no sentient beings, no migratories, no liberation, the beings who achieve enlightenment, those sentient beings who achieve. But it says it's not the case. Conventionally, these exist. So these Buddhas, while they, to them everything is void of empty or inherent existence, but they still put effort, they still work for the sentient beings, to liberate sentient beings. This is also, we can understand as the two truths, the conventional truth and the ultimate truth. So that's the reason why you are making homage, because they possess these qualities. Now the pledge. This is also another common theme in texts, Buddhist texts. So normally it begins with a homage and followed by the pledge. The pledge making or pledge is so important because these are great beings. The great beings do not make false promises. They don't make that many promises. When they make promises, they fulfill it. So this is to help themselves. Tamba mambu keje mejishin kede kawe kene langyuna tola remutiva tabuni shiyan shendu cheba menjuros. Once they pledge, once they vow or promise to do so, they will do so. So that's why this helps the composer, the author, to successfully complete the work. Because they are great beings do not make many promises. Once they make promises, they always fulfill. It never turns out to be a false promise. For ordinary people, we make all kinds of promises. Oh, I will do that for you, I will do this, I will do that, I will give you this, all this. But 10% of what we promise we are able to fulfill. But that's not how great beings behave. So that's why that's the pledge. Pende june zogwe sanje nam tamju ruble chungde teyangni teyi lalen she la ralebe kese namji lalen she chas. Perfect Buddha, source of all well-being and happiness, arise from accomplishing the excellent teachings. And this depends on knowing the practices. So I will explain the practices of Bodhisattva. It's self-explanatory. We don't really need to explain this. So Buddhas, the perfect Buddhas, whom we visualize in our merit field, whom we revere, whom we make prostrations, whom we make offerings, whom we make prayers to, one time they were like us. They were ordinary. They used to have suffering. They used to have the same kind of suffering and problems that we experience right now. And they have taken birth in lower realms and experienced inexplicable sufferings. They undergone so much torture and pain. But now they have become perfect Buddhas. Now they have become the object of reverence. How did they become? It's not like, out of the blue, they become Buddha. One day they are ordinary person and then the next day they are Buddha. That is not the case. They became Buddha because they embarked on the path of Bodhisattvas. They practice what is called the union of the path, the method union of method, the path that is made up of that is comprised of wisdom realizing emptiness and the method aspects, the bodhicitta. They have cultivated bodhicitta. And not only that, they did not leave it there. Once developing the mind of this bodhicitta, they have embarked on the practices such as the 6 perfections. They have endured all the hardships. And then eventually, they are able to abandon or uproot all that defilement, all that afflictive emotions, and especially that self-grasping. Eradicate even the imprints of that. And that's how they become Buddha. So, in order to do that, and this depends on knowing the practices. That's why we are studying. Without knowing how to practice, there's no way to practice. And this morning I was reading something and I came across this one. Gomba mebe toba chubu sene jingba das. So we need to first understand the teachings. And then we need to reflect, we need to contemplate, and then we need to apply. We need to incorporate that into our daily practices. Only then we can become a Buddha. Only then we can see the progress. Here it says, Gomba mebe tobaya chubu sene jingba das. So if your understanding remains only intellectual, there is no application of it, then it says it is like a stingy, a miserly, wealthy person. Even though the person is so wealthy, but because of his miserliness, because of the stinginess, that person, he couldn't even spend money on the food that he should eat. He becomes so calculative. So what is the point? If you don't give to others, we can still understand. But if you cannot even use it for your own survival, for your own thing, and hoard, so what is the purpose? So he's saying that it is like this. Understanding that is not put to use is like a stingy rich person. So the point is that in order to achieve enlightenment, we need to practice. In order to practice, we need to first understand how to go about, what to do and what not to do. So that's why he says, so I will explain the practices of Bodhisattva. Since we are all pursuing the Bodhisattva path, we need to understand what entails Bodhisattva practice and what are those. So Gyalse Tokme Zangpo is saying that here I am going to explain what practices one should pursue as a Bodhisattva aspirants or the Bodhisattvas. Let's see what are the practices. The first set of the practices. Tejo dushin nyega topduindir dashin kormen sole chejechir. Nyindan sendo yawa mebarani nyansam komba kese laglen yins. This is about extracting the essence. So you see in the image a honeybee extracting the nectar from this flower. They can really extract. They leave what is the phrase? No stones unturned. Leaves no stones unturned. They will really get every juices or the pollen, whatever. So here it says, having gained this rare shift of freedom and fortune, here think and meditate unwaveringly night and day in order to free yourself and others from the ocean of cyclic existence. This is the practice of Bodhisattvas. So this is about taking the full advantage of the life that we have, which is what we call that the life with the leisure and endowments. So we have already discussed about how this life is free from these 8 states of unfavorable conditions. In Tibetan, we call it Del Jor. Del means to have time, to be free to practice Dharma. So if we are in these 8 states or 8 conditions, then we are not free. We don't have the freedom. We don't have the leisure to practice Dharma. But we are free. I'm not going to list all the 8. We have covered this many times, and sometimes I feel that, you must be tired of hearing that again and again. You must be tired of the repetition. So I'm not going to do that here, but you all know what the 8 states, unfavorable states. So we are free from that. And not only that, we have what is called the endowments, the conducive conditions, the necessary facilities to help us practice. We have met Dharma. We have plenty of teachers, especially COVID time. Many teachers, great teachers, are teaching online, giving online teachings. And we have access to all those teachings. Because of COVID, how many times we are fortunate to receive teachings from His Holiness while enjoying the comfort of our own house. So we are lucky in many ways. So all the facilities are there. We do not lack all these facilities. What we lack is our determination, our perseverance. 대저르데니 니에브라 신도카 개비우 튼루 토브라 교발라 개딘딜라 펜바 마주나 치디 양단 조와 칼라주 스제젠. So this kind of human life can achieve so many things. With the Dharma, if we are able to even apply a small percentage of what we understand of the Dharma teachings, it can bring significant difference in our life. Not to talk about the future life, just in this very life. For instance, if we are able to bring in the compassion part, the bodhicitta part, our relationships will change to 180 degrees. When we examined our strained relationships, our disputes with other people, we will realize that it is all because of this I importance we give to this I. I am so important. How dare he treat me like this? How dare he does not listen to me? I know better. They should be listening to me. What I say should be the right one. Remember, my way or the highway? This is all because of this importance we place on this I. So, through the practice of bodhicitta, we will be able to curve that. We will be able to hammer down this self-cherishing attitude. And then there will come a time that whatever they say, okay, yeah, your view is more important. Okay, you are able to at least open to discussion. And then you were able to let it go. And that's how the relation improves. So just a small example. And then you go to your work, to your workplace with that kind of attitude. It's different. The way, with that kind of attitude, the way you talk to people, it will be completely different interaction. And we don't realize that, that the potential that we possess. And it will be our waste, isn't it? We have that potential and it will be put to waste. Sometimes I think maybe that's our habit. We buy sophisticated devices, but we don't utilize all. Like iPhone. For me, I buy iPhone. I have an iPhone which was given to me by somebody, but I don't think I maximize the utilization. I only use making calls, texting, all this WhatsApp or whatever that is. But I think you can do a lot more. So likewise, our body has huge potential, but we are only using, I don't know how many percentage of it. And that one also to unimportant things. We are only utilizing this body to fulfill short-term goals, temporary happiness. We hardly use it to achieve long-term goal. And if this kind of opportunity comes often, it's okay to waste it. But the teachings repeatedly says that it is not easy. What we got here is by coincidence, more of a coincidence. To obtain again, the chances are so slim. So if that is the case, we should really do, isn't it? At the moment, like the vaccine, I don't know about you, but for us, if we get the vaccine appointment, we wouldn't miss it. We would make sure that we arrive there before the time. That is because that we see the importance, we see the benefits, we see the potential. So if we are able to see that kind of importance, if we are able to place that kind of importance in doing Dharma practice, that would be marvelous, that would be great. Mi tula tenene tunye chu chele tu. To the chine nye kawe mongba tusu nye malo. If we need to cross a lake or a river, and the only way to get there is a boat that comes maybe once a day, and what happens if we fall asleep? We will miss the boat, and we won't get to the other shore, other side of the lake. So this is exactly. So we have, at the moment, we have the opportunity to cross the ocean of sea, the ocean of suffering. We have the means to cross that ocean of suffering. But if we fall asleep, we will miss that boat. It says, "Mongba tusu ni ma lo." So don't fall asleep at the time of this boat's arrival. So in Lojong text, they liken the fitter away, wasting of this human life in engaging in worldly things to exchanging a precious, expensive, like let's say a diamond, exchanging a diamond with something edible, a poisonous edible, let's say poisonous fruit. So they liken this wasting of our human life to exchanging a diamond with a poisonous fruit. What will happen? First of all, it is so stupid to exchange that diamond. Diamond is so precious. You can do so much about this. But you see, we don't realize, the person doesn't realize the value of the diamond. So he exchanges that with a fruit. And that fruit, if it is not poisonous, is okay. But it is a poisonous one. What will happen? If you consume it, you die. Even if you don't die, it will give you so much pain and suffering. That's exactly what we are doing. We have this human life, which has so much potential. Instead of engaging in virtuous acts that can guarantee happiness in the future, we repeatedly engage in unwholesome actions, non-virtuous actions that will eventually increase our suffering. So that's what it's about. From the ocean of cyclic existence, this in order to free yourself and others. So here, think and meditate unwaveringly night and day. So we need to have what is called that kind of determination, that kind of enthusiasm, like the way when we are so thirsty. When we are so thirsty, our determination to look or search for water is so strong. We won't stop until we quench our thirst. So we need to have that kind of, first of all, that kind of determination, and then that kind of enthusiasm and perseverance when it comes to extracting the essence of our precious human life. Nyengi chola doja chudar yo, chayi chola shedang medar langdor jebe timu minajin payu bamba gese lakleyins. So this is about, even though it says giving up homeland, is mainly about giving up the sources of three poisons, the conditions that give rise to three poisons. Attached to your loved ones, you are stirred up like water. Hating your enemies, you burn like fire. In the darkness of confusion, you forget what to adopt and discard. Give up your homeland. This is the practice of Bodhisattva. So the reason why say give up your homeland, so we can take it to two different levels of understanding. One is the ordinary, the household life. When you lead an ordinary household life, of course this is for monks. So when you lead household life, there are so many situations, so many conditions that give rise to all these three poisons. So when you live a family life, I think you know better. There are so many things that will either anger us or what do you call, increase our attachment. If you have children, your attachment to your child, attachment to your partner, attachment to your relatives, all these, there's so much pain and uneasiness. Remember, we always differentiate between love and attachment. Attachment is kind of a clinging, and then there's always expecting something in return. I'll do this, then I'm expecting this one in return. There's always something there, always worry or something unease there. So you are constantly worrying that whether that person will be happy with you. Somebody, a former monk, he once told me that his two daughters, when a group of monks visit them, they host the group, and sometimes they stay for a week. So during those time, he told me that his two daughters, teenage daughters, they spend most of the time with the monks and hardly comes up. And they really enjoy spending time with the monks. And he said he got thinking, why? And then he realized that the monks, really their life is so simple. They are kind of free of worry actually. I don't know whether you have the opportunity to spend time in the company of monks. And when monks meet together, there's always fun. They hardly talk about any problems or any suffering or dissatisfaction, mainly about fun things. They will tease each other. And of course, the monks' sense of humor is terrible, yeah. I think the lay people cannot understand the monks' sense of humor. They will say and do all kinds of things which I think it is not acceptable in the lay community. But monks are monks. They debate, they are used to all this. Let's just give you an example, the monk's sense of humor. Let's say if two friends walking, and then let's say one slips his footing and then falls into a drain. What do you think the other monk would do? For ordinary people, the reaction will be reach out to pull the person out, isn't it? But for most of the monks, they will be like the other person will be on the floor laughing. To him, it is so funny. So he will be laughing. And the other person wouldn't take it often, and he will be laughing as well. So anyway, just coming back to the story. So he told me that when the lay people, when they meet for a coffee or a cup of tea, so first, of course, how are you? I think it's good. And then maybe, 5 minutes into the conversation, then they started to engage in what is called woos, is it? hue and cry, complain about this thing, that thing, because there's so much worry. It's all is about, or either about your partner, about your children. Mainly, I think children giving so much headache. So there's so much, what you call, factors that give rise to that kind of, give rise to this three poisons. Sometimes I also feel that because I am the oldest son, and my father passed away many years ago now, so I have to be the head of the family. My two sisters were then younger, so I have to be the in charge. My mother is a bit old, and she doesn't take charge. So when sometimes there are some dynamics there in the family, the mother and daughters not getting along, so it's a big headache. And sometimes I think that, why am I involved in this? I shouldn't be involved. And then I wish I admire my friend who is another Rinpoche, who has family in the monastery, but because Rinpoche was brought to monastery at a very young age, maybe 3-4 years old, so he doesn't have that attachment to his family. So he even doesn't visit them that often. So there were times that, wow, it would be so wonderful to be able to love without attachment. Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, they love us all without attachment. But our love and attachment is really is so difficult to differentiate. We think it is love, but there is this strong element of attachment. Because of that, we suffer. So attachment really stirs up all kinds of emotions. When we have strong attachment to ourselves, to people around us, what happens is then it brings anger. If things don't go well as we expected, like the people around you, when you think that you have this love and you think that you did all the things for them, and then when you don't receive that return that you are expecting, you get angry. That's also because of attachment. And then because when others are nasty and unkind to people you have attachment to, you develop aversion or the hatred and anger. And all this is because of the ignorance. It all comes from self-grasping. When we talk about the 12 links of a dependent origination, remember the first one is the ignorant. We discuss about that, how ignorant give rise to this chain of reactions. So that's what it is about here. So for beginners, even though this main point is teaching us to abandon the three poisons, to apply antidote to the three poisons, attachment, anger, and ignorance. But for beginners, it is difficult to apply antidotes right away. we are not yet there to really counter these strong emotions. So the best way is to give up your homeland. So here homeland can be understood as the situation, the condition that give rise to all this. So in order to reduce a frequency of all these three poisons, we can go elsewhere where there is no conditions, where it is free from this. Of course, there's no real free, but sometimes, let's say, if you have a friend or a family members who likes to always argue and quarrel, so when you go to that place, what happens? Naturally, you will be angered. And sometimes you have people who are so pessimistic. Everything they see in a dark way. Even good things they will find a way to interpret in a negative way. So what happens when you go there? You get so depressed. So this is what it is saying about. So avoid these environments or these places where it give rise to these three poisons. And that leads to the next stanza. So if that is the case, where should we go? What is the best place to avoid, for the beginners to avoid? That's why the practitioners, they go to those what do you call those secluded place where there is no one to really stir you up and bring up your this attachment or attachment, anger, all this. So we are very good at what you call collecting all kinds of things to increase our attachment. So let me tell you a story which was in a way is quite funny. So one time a Lama friend told me that, he says that, oh, it's quite complicated in the West, he says. So he was, I think, living with another lady or something, and he says that when he goes to cut something, and then, oh, that is not the knife, this one is not. He says it's so complicated. And it's true, yeah? How many knives do you have? One knife for, I don't know, for meat, another knife for bones, and then another for cutting vegetables, and then another for, I don't know, the fruits. It's so complicated. Back in monastery, we just have one. That's the cleaver. Meat, it comes. Potato, it comes. Fruit, it comes. Even we need to cut plants or woods, that cleaver comes. So simple. But here, even the chopping board, oh, for chicken and for meat and all this, oh, you cannot cut on this. You need to have another one for fruit and vegetable or this board. And then spoon, soup spoon, tablespoon, teaspoon, dessert spoon, isn't it? So all these, I think we are just, collecting more things to increase our attachment. Why not live a simple life? Just one spoon, will do anything. So here, if we are able to apply the antidotes to the 3 poisons, very good, do so. If not at this stage, then try to avoid the things that give rise to all these 3 poisons. When you started to hold a lot of things, your attachment is stronger. Yunyi pambe nyomo rimgi tip nami mebe kejoro ngangi pel riba tamwe chola nyeshi ke umba temba kyase lagle yins. So now, if we need to abandon the homeland, what is the best place to go so that all these 3 poisons have no much chance to arise? So this is to cultivating the seclusion, the source of all good qualities. It says, by avoiding bad objects, disturbing emotions gradually decrease. Without distraction, virtuous activities naturally increase. With clarity of mind, conviction in the teaching arises. Cultivate seclusion. This is the practice of Bodhisattva. So another practice of Bodhisattva is to cultivate seclusion, to live a solitary life. Can we do that? By avoiding bad objects, disturbing emotions gradually decrease. That's true, isn't it? If we go to shopping mall, what happens? All these desirous thoughts will arise. When we see nice things, oh, this is so beautiful. I wish I have one. Oh, I must get this. Oh, this gadget is really good. I must get one. And then when it comes to hatred, if you have an enemy, a person whom you don't like, what happens when you keep seeing that person? There's discomfort, there's unease, if not anger. So if we go into a remote area, then these factors are absent and thereby help us prevent the rising of these 3 poisons. But of course, the place needs to have certain elements or certain conditions. So first one is easy access to resources. So you need to go and live in an isolated place that has easy access to basic needs. If you go to a place where you cannot get food, you cannot get water, then you won't be successful in your practice, in your meditation. And then it needs to be safe. Safe from wild animals. If it is frequented by wild animals, there is a danger to your life. And if it is a place is frequently frequented by bandits or robbers, then there is a danger, even though you are willing to give away any possessions, but sometimes it can be dangerous to your life. And then a place, in the Lamrim it says, good ground, that offers good ground. So good ground means the climate is suitable. Like if you go to do meditation in Arctic, that's not good ground. You may die from cold. And then if you go to some place which is too hot, also it will hinder our practice. So we need to find a place that is suitable in terms of weather, and also it is not prone to pandemics or kind of sickness. And then the place is good to have what is called good companions, a person who inspires us, a person who, what is the word now, urges us to practice Dharma, all the time setting good examples for us to engage in practices. So it is helpful to have that kind of company. So that's why in the Kadamba masters, they used to say, Lubu chola te, chubu shila te, shibu changla te, tangbu shila te, shibu chobu tongba la tes. If you are a real practitioner, your main concern should be Dharma practice. Your main goal, what you call the sole goal, is the innermost wish, or the sole goal is to practice. So other things are peripheral, is not so important. So when you have that kind of what you call when you have that kind of goal, what happens is it is likely that you may end up homeless, being a homeless. You may end up begging foods from others because your concern is only about practicing Dharma. So you don't focus on all the other things, the worldly concerns. You stop pursuing wealth. So when at that time, you may think that, oh, if I do that, then I have to live like a beggar. So Kadamba says, if you are a real practitioner, your thinking is that as long as I get the opportunity to practice, no matter what happens to me, whether I have to live as a beggar or homeless person, as long as I get the opportunity to practice, it's okay. I'm not concerned about it. One should have that kind of attitude. And then when you have that kind of attitude, what will happen is, oh, in that case, I may die because I will be malnutrition. Sometimes I get food, sometimes I may not get food. But in such cases, a real practitioner should have this concern, that same concern, that as long as I get to practice, it's okay. If I die from practicing Dharma, it is a worthwhile thing. I have never died in the past because of practicing Dharma. I died because of engaging in unimportant, trivial, worldly things. But now I am practicing. I am pursuing something which will benefit me in long term. So for that reason, if I have to die, it does not matter. Then sometimes you have this concern that if I die, nobody will take care of my body, my corpse will be just left unattended. That shouldn't be the concern. Our concern as a practitioner, as a true practitioner, our concern is about practicing, about getting the opportunity. So that's what Kadamba masters, they adopted that kind of attitude and they spend their life that way. So that's why the Kadamba masters, if you go to of course, we didn't have that opportunity. But those Kadamba masters, most of them lived in caves, and they don't have any possessions. Even during my time back in monasteries, now it has changed. Those days, the great practitioners, if you go to their room, you will see only the text. That's their possession. That's all they have. Very simple. Because when you have little, there's no way that attachment arises. There is less chance of arising anger. When you examine many occasions of anger are all due to what others did to us, to our things, is because of attachment. So here's a cultivate seclusion. So of course, at the moment, it is difficult for us. So the best thing that we can do at the moment is to avoid crowds, going to all these noisy places, going for drinking, going for disco. Of course, many of you don't do. So it is to avoid these places that serve as a stimulus to give rise to these three poisons. Without distraction, virtuous activities naturally increase, of course. With clarity of mind, conviction in the teaching arise. So when you are alone, this one I think we can all understand from our experience. You go to work and come back and sit down and try to meditate. It is very difficult because you had a busy day and all that thing, whatever your days, that headache is there, it is still in your mind. So all that is cluttering your mind. So when you are away from all these distractions, so you are able to focus. That's why it is always recommended that we do our meditation in the morning. So in the morning, we already rested for 8 hours or 6 hours. So our mind is fresh. We have already emptied whatever the day's hectic schedule or the incidents, so that we can now focus on our meditation object. So that's what I said. Without distraction, virtuous activities naturally increase. With clarity of mind, conviction in the teaching arise. So cultivate seclusion. This is the practice of Bodhisattva. So when you do your practice, it is good to do in a quiet place, especially when you live in a family with children and other people. So it is quite distracting to do practice. And sometimes what will happen is, instead of meditating or thinking on the prayers that we are reciting, we tend to listen to what others are talking. And that's not what we are supposed to do. Oops, oh, I have gone too long, is it? Okay. Okay, so we will stop here. I have already gone over the time. Tagi jini zawe yawa de tendan dowa kunla kangben dan kebara chuzun losan tabai Tembe Ningbo Ringdo Seje Sho Jambe Bayu Jedara Kemba Da Kundu Zangpo Tenyang Tenshin Do Teda Kungi Jesu Talobje Gyawa Deda Tamje Rabdu Ngo Duzun Shekbe Gyawa Tamje Gi Ngowa Kangla Shoto Ngakba De Tagi Gewe Zawan Degunja Zangpo Juji Rabdu Ngo Waragis. Thank you.